What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today we have a fun video topic, but before I get into it, let me know what you think about the sound quality on this video, okay? Actually, let me know what you think about the quality overall on this video. I have a different lens on. I have a different mic. I know like the setup is different. I don't really like change, but I feel like I've been wanting to enhance my quality, my sound quality, my video quality. So let me know if you notice a difference. Let me know if you like it, if you think I should keep it, or if you have any suggestions, I'm down to hear them. But today's video topic, I am actually very excited about because for the years of my own personal CrossFit journey, I feel like I have kind of touched on this here and there, right? Like why I fell out of love with CrossFit, why I stopped doing CrossFit, why I got back into doing CrossFit. And it got me thinking like, what is it about CrossFit that is so freaking addictive, right? Like why is the sport itself just inherently so, like people are so drawn to it, and they say, like you drink the CrossFit Kool-Aid, it's like a cult, people have said that. Now, before I get into the details of today's video, I do want to put out a little disclaimer. I am not shitting on CrossFit, okay? Like if you've been around on my channel for quite some time, you already know I have done CrossFit for years and years. Like I am not trying to say that it's bad. I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't do it. This is just a conversational podcast-ish style video to just kind of share my thoughts and discussion about why I feel CrossFit is so addictive, and also why you guys feel it's so addictive. Because let me tell you what inspired today's video topic. Okay, so I got this DM the other day. I'm going to read it for you. Do you have any coaches or references for dealing with burnout or plateauing? I feel like you have a lot of connections in the space, blah, blah, blah. I've been going in CrossFit for 5 years, and the last 2 years I have dealt with injuries and setbacks, and I can never find progress anymore and just keep restarting and trying to get back to where I was. Dealing with low energy is a big one. Dealing with no appetite and trouble sleeping, but I've started therapy and to taper back on workouts. I just have poor energy and no progression. I know you've recently switched to not doing CrossFit, and I cannot wrap my head around it because issues. But maybe if I had a coach or a plan, I get anxiety thinking about getting back into shape, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So this is not the first time that I have been asked a question about stopping CrossFit. How did I get out of stopping CrossFit? It sounds like, how did you quit an addiction? I get these messages all the time ever since I've slowly started to transition away from CrossFit style workouts. And I will tell you, as somebody who, again, has been in the CrossFit space for years and years, it is a very difficult thing to do. And I just kind of like sat down and thought about it the other day. I'm like, what is it that is so addictive about the CrossFits? Like, what is the deal? I think where I've also seen this a lot is athletes who have dedicated so much of their life to CrossFit. And then let's say, like kind of what that person's message said, right? Like they're dealing with injuries or setback, or how many times have you seen an athlete in the CrossFit space? They qualify for something and then they get an injury and they have to withdraw. And it is literally like their world is ending. And for them, it very well may be that feeling. And I'm not trying to take that away from them, but like this feeling of CrossFit being your identity is, I think, where a lot of it roots from. I think, not for everybody, but I do think for especially the higher level athletes who have just, like I said, dedicated so much of their time, their energy, their life to being a CrossFit athlete, that I think it sometimes becomes a part of who they are, and they feel like they're not somebody, or they're not themselves without CrossFit. And I know this is something that I personally dealt with, because as somebody who shares their life on social media, I feel like so many of you started following me for my CrossFit journey and my posts and, weightlifting and all the things that encompass the CrossFit world, right? And when you take that away, it's almost like, okay, well, what do I do? One of the things that I actually saw recently that I was like, wow, this would literally only happen in CrossFit. And I saw like a really high level athlete, I'm pretty sure she's been to the games. Don't quote me on that, but either way, we're not talking shit. So like, I'm not going to say any names, but like, I just saw this athlete, and her and her husband were trying to get pregnant. And so the doctor told her specifically, because I guess she was having some fertility issues, like, you need to stop doing CrossFit because you are so high cortisol, high stress, and it's just not good for you. And he basically told her like, you need to scale back. And so I've been watching this journey of her scaling back, and her scaling back is like so many people's like full training I mean, the scaling back is just not giving scaling back. Okay. But to her it is, because over the years you've like accumulated this volume, you've accumulated this feeling of accomplishment and killing yourself in workout, feeling that like empowerment feeling. And I was like, this I think is what is the addictive part of CrossFit. I think, just going into it layer by layer, the first portion I think comes from a community standpoint. And I think this can apply to athletes at the high level and also just like your regular person who feels like they are addicted to CrossFit. Because when I posted, the question on my story, I was like, do you do CrossFit? Yes or no? And if you do you feel like you are addicted to CrossFit? If so, have you ever tried to stop CrossFit and felt like you can't? And the amount of people who said that they felt like they couldn't was mind blowing, you guys. Like it was like 93% people said that they felt like they couldn't stop doing CrossFit. Anyway, that's kind of what sent me down the rabbit hole of like getting into understanding why CrossFit is so addictive. And so, when we are joining CrossFit, it's very different than joining a gym and doing your own thing, right? Like you are working out with a group of people, you're all suffering together. It's like that misery loves company kind of thing. You all are just getting that feeling of camaraderie. And to be honest with you, I feel like a lot of people who are not necessarily training for semifinals or the games or anything like that, you're just, going to the gym to be healthy. I think a big portion of that comes from, or why they feel it's addictive rather, is because they're having that really new and different experience of community and team. And especially if it's somebody who maybe has not been a part of sports, like myself, I was not really a sports kid. Having CrossFit is pretty much like the closest thing that you can get to being on a team of sorts and going through those difficult workouts or the hard things with your teammates, which would be, like your CrossFit classes of the world. I just think that in itself is addicting for people who have never really felt like they've been a part of something before. The second layer to that, I think, is the variety and the not knowing. And again, I'm kind of speaking from personal experience here with this one, because I know when it comes to going to a regular gym, like you're kind of picking and choosing what you want to do. Unless you have someone that writes your programming for you, your training or what have you, you're kind of just going to the gym and you're like, I don't want to do legs today because it's going to be legs. Now, I know that a lot of gyms will post their workouts the night before, but I think a lot of people kind of anticipate that feeling of, what are we doing today? What are we working on? Like this surprise, this funness of not knowing what's coming, I think is part of the experience of CrossFit. I mean, they say like constantly varied and this and that. And that, I think, to keep the excitement, to keep people guessing, is a huge part of why people find it really difficult to leave the CrossFit space. And of course, like you add into that the dopamine and the serotonin that happens when you are accomplishing something. You think about hitting a PR, right? Or improving on something. Those feelings of accomplishment are so strong in CrossFit because there's not really ever a week where you're not like doing something new or doing something more than you've done it before. You're retesting a workout, you're testing a PR, you're trying to learn a new skill. Like there's so many things to do in CrossFit that like you can absolutely become addicted to that like grind of learning something new and accomplishing a new task, especially if you are very reward driven and or have an addictive personality, which I would venture to say that a lot of people who are like feeling that heavy addictive feeling to CrossFit, I would say have an addictive personality, because those are the people that are drinking the CrossFit Kool-Aid per se. Like they are going to the CrossFit class 6 times a week. They're staying after, they're working on their skills, they're doing all this stuff. And it's really, really hard to back away from that because you see the progress and it's more than what you would do in a traditional, hey, I'm going to the gym to work out kind of thing. Especially for your average person, I feel like giving them that feeling of confidence and competitiveness within the gym, especially if they're doing like local competitions or even the open. Like, I mean, look at me. I'm literally the prime example of that. Like I said, I'm not doing the open this year. And then look, my ass did it, And I think for me, the layer of this CrossFit onion that was for me personally was I wanted to feel the competitiveness and push myself to see how much I've improved from the past. And that's a lot of what CrossFit is built on, like improving, doing something new, doing something better, doing it better than you've done it before. And that's really how you advance in the sport as it is, like getting better scores. You're doing higher in the open this year. I made it to quarterfinals, and that is one of those things that CrossFit keeps as like on record, I guess. Whereas like, unless you're really, really into like bodybuilding or yoga or something like that, you're probably not keeping track of, like your score on this specific workout. You know what I mean? And so I think like having that data and having that stuff to look forward to and to look back on is really rewarding, especially when you're improving, because you become addicted to that feeling of like, I'm doing better, I'm doing more, this, and that. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like that is so hard to go from a regular or to go to a regular working out sense. It is so incredibly hard to retrain your brain and how you can get those levels of endorphins or the dopamine hit that you get when you hit a PR. Like that is hard to replicate in a standard gym setting. And, I want to talk a little bit about that as somebody who has done that, I think, rather successfully. I don't know that I'd say fully successfully, but because I still deal with the feelings of like, who am I and what am I offering outside of like CrossFit education, because that's where I started and that's where I felt like I was providing the most value. And so taking that away from me, I felt like I had to kind of figure out who I was. And that's crazy. That's crazy. Okay. Because it is working out. Like at the end of the day, we are so crazy for being this way about a form of fitness. We should be so grateful that we're able to move our bodies and to work out at this level, because a lot of people in this world are not able to do that. And we're over here sitting here saying that we're addicted to CrossFit. Like it's actually insane when you think about it. When I was asking you guys about what you felt your hardest like reasons for not being able to leave CrossFit was, the number one answer that I got was some form of the following: leaving the gym feeling like I didn't do anything because my workouts aren't as high intensity as they were in CrossFit, and that can squash the endorphins real quick. And this is exactly, in my opinion, what I think is the hardest part for anyone, no matter if you are a beginner, your average workout person, maybe you're like middle of the pack, you're going to quarterfinals, or even the advanced elite athletes. I think this in particular is so hard for people to step away from. Over time, you have your really intense workouts and you are normally pushed to a point where you wouldn't be if you were working out by yourself, right? And so as the years pass, the months pass, you start to adapt to that level of intensity, and you start associating the fact, because you're becoming fitter, right? Like it's harder for you now to get that sweat. Like if you take a beginner person who has never done any type of working out, right? And you have them go do a 200-meter row or something like that, they're going to be out of breath. They're going to be huffing and puffing. And that may have been you in the beginning. And as your body adapts to this cardiovascular level of fitness, along with strength training, because of course that's one of the things that CrossFit does that I don't think a lot of other forms of working out do, unless you're talking like an Orange Theory fitness, but I don't know too much about that, so don't hold me to that. But you're getting all of this type of improvement. And so over time, your body now can adapt to doing that 200-meter row much easier than it did in the beginning. And that idea kind of happens to the fitness level as a whole. Because for me, and I'll give you a perfect example, when I am boxing and when I'm doing like rounds of very cardio heavy workouts with boxing, the cardio endurance and my overall endurance is actually not what slows me down. And I can thank CrossFit for that, because over the 7-8 years I've done CrossFit primarily, my endurance capacity is probably significantly more than your average person who goes to start boxing. And I've even seen that with some of the girls who are like elite boxers. I would consider them to be like in our gym. I mean, I'll be doing, rounds with them and I'm just like not out of breath. And I think that when you look at that as how your body adapts more so than it does in a traditional working out standpoint, like bodybuilding or any form of lower intensity fitness capacity, you can start to think like, well, I'm not doing anything because I'm not out of breath. I'm not tired. I'm not laying on the floor in a pool of sweat. And something about that mentality with CrossFit, because that really is like the only sport or fitness level that, like most people can do. I say sport because I know people compete as a sport, but just like in general, anybody can do CrossFit, right? And so like that feeling of pushing yourself to the exhaustion, the open workouts, the teams, the competitions, those things, I think that feeling, becoming better at that, makes it harder for you to then stop doing it, because you'll stop doing it and you'll go do, a bodybuilding workout. And I know this for a fact, not only because I've done it, but because my clients have done it. My friends have done it. So many of you messaged me about this, and you would say like, I went to do a bodybuilding workout and I felt like I did absolutely nothing. That's just not true. Like, it is because we have adapted to this level of fitness that is pretty far beyond where you would be if you weren't doing CrossFit. And so when you start to pull back from it, you feel like you're failing. You feel like you're not doing anything. And, you're going to probably get to the end of this video and be like, okay, Mander's like, how do I quit CrossFit if I want to do it? I think that, this is, again, I'm just kind of keying it up with you guys and just telling you what I think about the situation. First thing that I think so many of us need to do that's so important is to distance yourself, your identity from CrossFit, because you are not a CrossFit athlete. You are an athlete who does CrossFit. That is just like where you have to start to get your brain to accept the fact that doing CrossFit is not all that encompasses you. And to be quite honest with you, 90% of people, especially beginners who are just like, let's say they're starting out on their fitness journey. And again, referring back to my initial comment, I'm not shitting on CrossFit. If you love it and you want to do it, go do you, boo. But 90% of people who come to me for fitness advice, for nutrition, coaching, whatever it may be, I would venture to say that they would be so much better off from an injury standpoint, from a cortisol standpoint, from a body image standpoint, just starting off with doing like bodybuilding hypertrophy style training coupled with days or sessions of cardio. Not every single day needs to be 100% effort, craziness, balls to the wall type training. It just doesn't need to be. And the reason why a lot of us have been conditioned to think that that's the case is because the elite level athletes, not all of them, but a large portion of them who are also using PEDs to get themselves to push to that level, is become just so normalized. And I will say this with my chest because I feel very strongly about this. So many people at the elite level are never going to be caught using any type of performance enhancing drugs, whether that's going through hormone clinic. I'm not even saying they're doing it illegally. Like, maybe they're not competing. Maybe they're just on the gram. Who knows? They're not going to be open and honest about the ways in which they're able to physically push themselves to that limit, especially if they're doing it for money. It happens in all elite sports. I don't care who tries to tell me that the people that go to the games are clean. Sure, they might be clean at that moment, taking their drug test for the CrossFit Games, but you just cannot and will never convince me that the elite, the highest of the high, and the reason I know this is because I was with so many of those people who are not the elite of the elite games people who were still running low dose of Anavar, getting some testosterone pellets, whatever the case may be, peptides, SARMs. I mean, I know them and I've talked to them. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. So there is just no way. I'm going off on a steroid rant, but there's no way that our bodies are naturally able, with the exception of maybe like the one or two genetic freaks of nature out there, but like 8 hours, like your job of working out from 9 to 5 has become so normalized in this CrossFit space that I think it just raises that level of what people who are doing CrossFit think is normal. So like when you stop doing it, you think you're doing nothing, but you really aren't doing nothing. You're doing a normal workout. And as somebody who has left that CrossFit intense just mindset, I can honestly tell you that I have had less injuries. My body has never felt better. And this is also largely probably because I am natural, so I don't take performance enhancing drugs, but I just feel better. I don't feel beat up. And I think people who, like your average person who is doing CrossFit 6 times a week and beating themselves to shit, not only is it messing with your head, but it's also messing with your body. There's really just no reason for that. And if honestly, if you haven't seen the other video I did about this, where I'm like breaking down a CrossFit class, sometimes you're really not even getting that much work out of it. So like I said, you'd be better off doing a 45 to 50 minute bodybuilding hypertrophy style. I'm not saying with no intensity, like there should be some intensity, there should be some to failure, but like then adding in, your 30 minutes of incline walking or your 2-mile run twice a week, whatever it may be. Like the amount of people that would benefit from that is insane. Now, if you're somebody that needs the community, you need that CrossFit community, you need the structure of the class. Again, you do you, boo. But I'm just, I just wanted to like shed some light on the other side, because I feel like, don't get me wrong, I still struggle with some of the CrossFit mentality, but like as someone who has now kind of found a different sport and just let go of that, needing to be beat to shit all the time to feel productive, this is genuinely the best that I have felt. And so if I can like encourage you to maybe like, if you're feeling that way, if you feel like you hate working out, you hate CrossFit, but you feel like you can't leave it, that's a problem. Like that is not okay. We need to understand so many things in life. There's so many more things to life than working out and CrossFit. And like being on the other end of it, I just feel so much better. I also feel like I look better, if I'm being honest with you. Like my legs have never been bigger since I've been like strictly doing bodybuilding hypertrophy style. And, while I am so incredibly grateful for all of the things and the lessons that CrossFit has taught me over the years, I just feel like when you get to that point, when it starts to feel like you are legitimately addicted to CrossFit or you can't stop, that's when we need to take a step back and really like look at what we're doing. Like we are just working out. Your 5-mile run ruck with a weighted vest is not a rest day. It is not like that. No, it's just not. So I digress. I'm getting way too long on this video, but that's, kind of what I just wanted to maybe give you some encouragement if you're someone who has reached that point in CrossFit and you want to stop, but you don't know how. The best thing, honestly, that I think you can do for yourself is trying to understand what it is that you genuinely like about CrossFit and figure out how to get that without needing it from CrossFit, and just giving you something to think about today. Okay. Just giving you a little chit chatty with Mander, something to think about, because I genuinely just don't understand why it has taken me so long to kind of take a step back from drinking the CrossFit Kool-Aid. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sure I'm going to get a very wide variety of comments on this video, but let me know. Do you feel like CrossFit's addictive? Do you feel like you're addicted to CrossFit? Do you feel like you can't stop, won't stop? Who are you outside of CrossFit, So let me know what you guys think in this video. I hope it was just like, I don't know, something fun to listen to. Maybe you're doing your cardio and you're just listening to me chat, but I really appreciate you. If you did make it through this entire video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and click that subscribe. I love you guys so much. And I will, of course, as always, see you in next Monday's video. Okay. And so if I can like encourage you to maybe like, if you're feeling that way, if you feel like you hate working out, you hate CrossFit, but you feel like you can't leave it, that's a problem. Like that is not okay. We need to understand so many things in life. There's so many more things to life than working out and CrossFit. And like being on the other end of it, I just feel so much better. I also feel like I look better, if I'm being honest with you. Like my legs have never been bigger since I've been like strictly doing bodybuilding hypertrophy style. And, while I am so incredibly grateful for all of the things and the lessons that CrossFit has taught me over the years, I just feel like when you get to that point, when it starts to feel like you are legitimately addicted to CrossFit or you can't stop, that's when we need to take a step back and really like look at what we're doing. Like we are just working out. Your 5-mile run ruck with a weighted vest is not a rest day. It is not like that. Not. So I digress. I'm getting way too long on this video, but that's, kind of what I just wanted to maybe give you some encouragement if you're someone who has reached that point in CrossFit and you want to stop, but you don't know how. The best thing, honestly, that I think you can do for yourself is trying to understand what it is that you genuinely like about CrossFit and figure out how to get that without needing it from CrossFit, Just giving you something to think about today, okay? Just giving you a little chit-chatty with Mander, something to think about, because I genuinely just don't understand why it has taken me so long to kind of take a step back from drinking the CrossFit Kool-Aid. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sure I'm going to get a very wide variety of comments on this video, but let me know. Do you feel like CrossFit's addictive? Do you feel like you're addicted to CrossFit? Do you feel like you can't stop, won't stop? Who are you outside of CrossFit, So let me know what you guys think in this video. I hope it was just like, I don't know, something fun to listen to. Maybe you're doing your cardio and you're just listening to me chat, but I really appreciate you. If you did make it through this entire video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and click that subscribe. I love you guys so much. And I will, of course, as always, see you in next Monday's video.